Strength, properly understood, is not about force. It is not about the man who can shout the loudest, control the harshest, or impose his will through fear or intimidation. That kind of strength is brittle. It breaks under the pressure of real life, and it corrodes relationships until nothing stable remains. True strength, strength that lasts, strength that draws people toward you rather than pushing them away, is rooted in responsibility. A man who assumes responsibility willingly, even joyfully, becomes someone around whom others can orient themselves. That is the kind of man a woman will return to, because she sees in him not just power, but the ability to use that power for stability, protection, and growth. Think about what responsibility really means. It means carrying weight voluntarily. It means saying, I will bear the load, not because I must, but because I choose to. And that choice is everything. Because life is suffering. That is the starting point. There will be chaos, there will be disorder, and there will be times when everything seems to fall apart. In those moments, women do not look for the man who complains, who collapses, or who demands sympathy. They look for the man who can hold steady, who can take the blows without disintegrating, and who can continue to move forward despite them. This isn't about stoicism in the shallow sense. It's not about pretending nothing hurts you. That's false. People see through it, and worse, it cuts you off from genuine connection. Instead, it's about cultivating the inner fortitude to take the pain of life seriously, to acknowledge it, and then to carry it with dignity. Responsibility transforms suffering into meaning. When you pick up responsibility, you turn chaos into order. And when you do that, you become magnetic. You become someone who is trustworthy. And trust is the deepest currency in any relationship. Women are naturally attuned to this. They may not articulate it in these exact words, but they feel it. They sense when a man is avoiding responsibility, when he's drifting aimlessly, when he's waiting for someone else to fix the problems in his life. That kind of man becomes a burden. He drains energy instead of creating it. But the man who stands up, who shoulders the responsibility for his work, his family, his own flaws and failures, he radiates strength. She knows that if she places herself in his orbit, she won't have to mother him. She won't have to rescue him. She won't have to endlessly stabilize him. Instead, she can trust that he is already stable, and that stability allows her to rest, to open, to give. Responsibility is also what distinguishes authority from tyranny. A tyrant imposes rules to serve his own ego, but a responsible leader creates order so that others can flourish. That distinction is crucial. Many men mistake dominance for strength. They think if they can control, they can hold a woman. But control breeds resentment, and resentment breeds distance. A woman may comply under dominance, but she will never admire, and she will never freely return. Responsibility, on the other hand, commands respect. It's not coercive, it's magnetic. She comes back not because she's forced, but because she chooses to. Now, responsibility doesn't just mean providing financially or standing firm in crisis. It also means responsibility for your own growth, for your own flaws, for your own darkness. Every man carries within him the potential for destruction, laziness, cruelty, and deceit. Denying that doesn't make it go away. It makes it worse. But if you confront it, if you accept that you are capable of both tremendous good and tremendous evil, and you take responsibility for channeling yourself toward the good, then you are powerful in the truest sense. You are dangerous, but you are disciplined. And women respect that combination deeply. Because what they fear, more than weakness itself, is a man who refuses to own his weakness. That's why responsibility is not just external, it's internal. It's not just about showing up for work, or paying the bills, or protecting the home. Those are important, but they are surface-level manifestations of something deeper. Responsibility at its root means saying, the flaws of my character are my problem to solve. The trajectory of my life is in my hands. The chaos around me is not someone else's burden, it's mine to organize. When you live like that, you stop being a victim. And when you stop being a victim, you become someone others can lean on. And here's the paradox. The more responsibility you take, the freer you become. Because responsibility gives you direction. It eliminates the paralysis of aimlessness. It draws order out of chaos, and in that order, others find peace. Women return to that, not because you've manipulated them, not because you've demanded their loyalty, but because you've created the conditions where loyalty is natural, almost inevitable. You don't have to be perfect. You never will be. But if you are the kind of man who carries the heaviest load you can bear and does it with dignity, then people will see you as solid ground in a world that constantly shifts beneath our feet. That's what draws them back. So remember this. Strength without responsibility is tyranny, but responsibility without strength is weakness. The two together form character, and character is the foundation of attraction that lasts. Women always return to the man who is responsible because responsibility is the clearest signal that he has built himself into someone worth trusting, worth admiring, and worth loving. Take responsibility. Not because it's easy, but because it's the only thing that makes you strong enough to be the kind of man someone would choose to return to. Emotional depth is a critical quality, but it's one that is deeply misunderstood. Many men think that to be strong, they have to cut themselves off from their emotions altogether, as if feeling is weakness. Others swing to the opposite extreme, drowning in emotion, wearing every wound on their sleeve, demanding constant reassurance from anyone who will listen. Neither of these approaches works. One creates distance, the other creates suffocation. The truth lies in balance. A man needs to cultivate emotional depth, which is the capacity to feel and understand the complexity of human experience, but without collapsing into emotional fragility, which is the inability to withstand those feelings without breaking. What does this look like in practice? Imagine a man who feels sadness, grief, disappointment, or joy deeply. He does not hide from those emotions. He acknowledges them, he allows them to inform him, but he does not let them rule him. That's very different from the man who suppresses everything, pretending he's unshakable, and equally different from the man who cries out constantly for others to manage his feelings for him. Emotional depth means you are alive to your own inner world, but resilient enough to bear it without demanding that others carry it for you. This is powerful in relationships because women are naturally attuned to emotional authenticity. They long for connection, and connection is impossible without feeling. If you wall yourself off completely, you become unreachable, like a fortress. And while a fortress may seem safe, it is also cold, lifeless, and ultimately lonely. On the other hand, if you are endlessly volatile, if every slight or disappointment throws you into despair, you become unstable, and instability is exhausting to be around. No one wants to live with a person who must be rescued emotionally every single day. The man who embodies emotional depth without fragility is different. He is open enough to connect but strong enough to endure. When he listens, he doesn't just nod absentmindedly. He genuinely understands, feels, and responds. But he does not lose himself in the feelings of others. He can empathize without drowning. And that is what creates a sense of safety. Women will return to that again and again because it is rare. It is magnetic. It says, I see you. I understand you. I can bear what you share with me, and I will not collapse under the weight of it. There's a deeper psychological truth here. Jung once said that no tree can grow to heaven unless its roots reach down to hell. The same applies to emotional depth. To be truly capable of connection, you must be willing to confront the darker parts of your own psyche, your fears, your resentments, your disappointments. If you avoid these, if you repress them, they don't go away, they fester. They turn into bitterness, resentment, or uncontrolled outbursts. But if you confront them voluntarily, if you look them in the eye and take responsibility for them, you integrate them. Then you are no longer a slave to your emotions, nor are you cut off from them. You are in dialogue with them. That makes you whole. And wholeness is attractive. It radiates because it signals maturity. It signals that you've faced the storm inside yourself and come out standing. People can sense this in a man. You don't have to announce it. It's in your presence. It's in the calmness you bring when others are overwhelmed. It's in the steadiness you carry even when things fall apart. That steadiness is not coldness. It's warmth combined with resilience. That's what makes people want to stay close. Another way to put this is, Women return to men who can hold their own inner chaos without projecting it onto everyone else. If your emotions own you, you will inevitably place them onto her. Your insecurity becomes her burden. Your anger becomes her battlefield. Your fragility becomes her responsibility. That erodes love. But if you own your emotions, if you feel them fully yet bear them with dignity, then you invite her into a space of genuine intimacy. You're not asking her to save you. You're offering her the gift of being understood by someone strong enough to hold both his pain and hers without crumbling. This is not easy. It requires practice, discipline, and self-reflection. It requires that you stop lying to yourself about what you feel. Many men repress their emotions because they're afraid of them. But what you avoid grows stronger in the shadows. The task is to face it voluntarily, to allow yourself to feel, but to remain grounded while doing so. That's courage. That's what breeds trust. And make no mistake, trust is at the heart of why a woman returns. She doesn't return simply because you are attractive, or wealthy, or charming. She returns because she trusts that you are capable of connection without chaos. She trusts that her vulnerability won't destroy you. She trusts that when she brings her heart to you, you won't freeze it with indifference or shatter it with volatility. That is the balance emotional depth without fragility creates. So, the challenge is clear. Cultivate the courage to feel, but also the strength to withstand what you feel. Become the man who listens without judgment, who empathizes without losing himself, who confronts his own darkness without running from it. That is emotional maturity. And emotional maturity is irresistible. Because in the end, emotional depth is not weakness. It is strength. And fragility is not depth, it is instability. Women will not return to instability, but they will always return to the man who has walked through the fire of his own emotions and come out steady, open, and unafraid. Be that man. Feel deeply, but stand firm. That is the kind of strength that calls people back. One of the greatest illusions men fall into is the belief that desire alone is enough. They think wanting success, wanting respect, wanting love is sufficient. But desire without discipline is nothing but chaos. A man who cannot govern himself, his impulses, his habits, his attention, cannot be trusted to govern anything larger than himself. And that is obvious to everyone around him, especially to women. Because women, consciously or unconsciously, are always asking the question, can this man be trusted to move forward, to build, to sustain? If the answer is no, if she senses a lack of self-mastery, then no amount of charm or fleeting passion will hold her. Self-mastery is the ability to put order to the inner chaos of your own life. It means setting limits on your appetites, disciplining your body, sharpening your mind, and aligning your actions with your higher goals rather than your momentary cravings. Without this, you remain in a perpetual state of boyhood, pulled in every direction by the whims of the moment. And a boy may be loved for his innocence, but he is not respected for his strength. Respect is earned when desire is channeled through discipline, when chaos is transformed into order through choice. Let's take something simple as an example, your daily habits. Do you wake up when you say you will? Do you keep promises to yourself about exercise, about work, about your responsibilities? Or do you break them because you're tired, distracted, or lazy? You might think these small decisions don't matter, but they are precisely the foundation of self-mastery. If you cannot command yourself in the small, you will collapse in the large. Women notice this instinctively. They may not articulate it, but they can feel when a man is in command of himself, when he is structured, when he is disciplined. That steadiness communicates reliability, and reliability is the bedrock of attraction. And don't mistake this for rigidity. Self-mastery is not about turning yourself into a machine. It's not about eliminating joy, spontaneity, or passion. In fact, it's the opposite. True self-mastery gives you more capacity for joy, more room for passion, because it frees you from slavery to the things that would otherwise control you. Think about addictions: food, drink, pornography, endless scrolling on a screen. When these habits own you, you are not free, no matter how much you indulge them. But when you master them, when you put them in their proper place, you reclaim your freedom. And in that freedom, you can engage life more fully. That's why self-mastery is not just about outward control, it's about inner sovereignty. A man who cannot say no to himself, who cannot endure discomfort for the sake of growth, is not sovereign. He is ruled by his weaker impulses. But a man who governs himself, who carries discipline into his daily existence, radiates a kind of authority that cannot be faked. It shows in his posture, in his speech, in the way he engages with others. It is a presence that says, I am in command here, not of you, not of the world, but of myself. That is what earns respect. And notice this. Women don't long for men they have to parent. They don't want to be the one dragging him out of bed, reminding him of his commitments, or cleaning up after the wreckage of his irresponsibility. That's not love. That's caretaking. And while a woman may tolerate it for a time, she will not return to it willingly. What she returns to is the man who has shown her he can carry himself. The man whose discipline gives her peace of mind. The man who doesn't need her to hold him together, because he has already done that work for himself. This is why self-mastery is so deeply attractive. It signals trustworthiness. It signals that you are capable of withstanding life without crumbling, and therefore you are capable of being a partner, not a dependent. Women want to stand beside a man, not carry him on their back. Now, self-mastery is not a destination you ever fully reach. It's a lifelong process. There will always be parts of yourself that resist discipline, that want to slide back into comfort, indulgence, laziness. And that's fine. The point is not perfection. The point is the struggle itself. Because the act of striving for mastery shapes you into someone stronger, steadier, and more reliable. And even in your imperfections, the fact that you are wrestling with yourself, refusing to surrender, communicates volumes about your character. This connects to something deeper, the archetypal battle between order and chaos. Within you, chaos always threatens to overrun order. That's the human condition. But if you take up the responsibility of discipline, you keep chaos at bay, not only for yourself, but for those who rely on you. And that is why women are drawn back to men who embody self-mastery. Because those men create order in their own lives, and by extension, they create order in the lives of those around them. That order is not oppressive, it's liberating. It allows growth, safety, and flourishing. So, if you want to become the man a woman will always return to, start with yourself. Govern your impulses, discipline your habits, confront your weaknesses, and live by the commitments you make. Not once in a while. Consistently. That consistency is what proves that your strength is real. Because in the end, self-mastery is the foundation of respect. It's what turns desire into trust, potential into reality, and attraction into loyalty. Without it, you are tossed about by every whim. With it, you become steady, grounded, and worth following. Master yourself. Nothing else will fall into place until you do. One of the most destructive mistakes men make is to build their entire identity around a relationship. They meet a woman, they fall in love, and suddenly, she becomes the sun around which their whole existence orbits. At first, it feels romantic, devotion, focus, a total investment. But it doesn't take long before the dynamic collapses. Because no human being can bear the weight of being another person's sole source of meaning. It places an impossible burden on her shoulders, and over time, she will resent it. She will feel suffocated. And she will leave, not necessarily because she doesn't love you, but because you tried to make her your entire world. What women return to is not the man who clings to them for identity, but the man who already has a mission larger than the relationship. A man whose purpose extends beyond romance, beyond comfort, beyond personal gratification. When she sees that you are animated by something bigger, something that requires you to grow, sacrifice, and strive, she feels that her presence in your life elevates, rather than replaces, that pursuit. And that distinction makes all the difference. Why is this so powerful? Because human beings are not meant to stagnate. We're wired for growth, for movement toward something. When you make a relationship the end point of your journey, you rob both yourself and your partner of that forward momentum. Love, in its truest form, is not the end of the story. It's the fuel for the journey. And the journey must lead somewhere meaningful. a mission, a calling, an aim that transcends your immediate comfort. Women sense this at a very deep level. They know that a man without purpose is a man drifting. He may cling to her passionately, but beneath that passion is desperation. And desperation isn't attractive, it's exhausting. On the other hand, when she sees that you are moving towards something larger, she knows she is walking beside a man who is going somewhere. That gives her a sense of security, and it draws her back again and again because she doesn't just want love. She wants love embedded in a life that matters. Now, what do I mean by purpose? It doesn't have to be some grandiose vision of saving the world. It can be as simple and as profound as committing yourself to being a better man every day, to contributing meaningfully through your work, to building a family that thrives, or to pursuing a craft, a skill, or a discipline with excellence. Purpose is less about what you do specifically and more about how seriously you take the responsibility of doing it. It's the difference between drifting through life on autopilot and living as though what you do actually matters, because it does. Think about it psychologically. If you place your partner at the very center of your life, you will begin to demand that she continually validates you. You will look to her for approval every time you falter, for direction every time you're lost. That dependence will erode the relationship from within. But if you are oriented toward something higher, toward truth, toward growth, toward mastery, then you are not looking to her to provide you with identity. You already have one. You are walking a path. And instead of her being the center, she becomes your companion on the journey. That is a far healthier, more sustainable dynamic. And here's the paradox. When you stop making her the center, she actually feels safer, more valued, and more drawn to you. Because now she knows you are not clinging out of fear. You are inviting her to join you in something greater. That gives her freedom. She can choose to stay not because you need her to survive, but because you've built a life that is worth sharing. That's an entirely different form of attraction. This is why purpose is non-negotiable. A man without purpose becomes restless, resentful, and insecure. His energy turns inward, festering into self-pity, or it turns outward destructively, grasping at distractions, addictions, or shallow pleasures. But a man with purpose channels that same energy into creation, into progress, into growth. And growth is magnetic. Growth keeps people coming back because it's inspiring, it's stabilizing, and it promises a future that is better than the present. You don't need to know your ultimate life's mission right now. That's too heavy a demand. What you need is to pick something meaningful enough to pursue today and commit to it seriously. The path will reveal itself as you walk it. And the very act of walking it, the discipline, the striving, the responsibility will shape you into a man of character. A man who is moving forward. Women always return to men who are moving forward. Because forward momentum is the antidote to stagnation. It says, I'm not done. I'm building, I'm aiming, I'm carrying the load. That inspires trust. That inspires admiration. And it makes her want to be by your side, not because she completes you, but because she can share in something that transcends both of you. So don't make the mistake of turning her into your sole source of meaning. She cannot bear that weight. Carry your own mission. Build your own purpose. And then invite her into that story. That is the kind of relationship that lasts, not a closed circle that collapses in on itself, but a shared journey towards something greater. Because in the end, the man who has purpose will always be the man worth returning to. Purpose gives direction, it gives strength, it gives meaning, and meaning is what sustains love through time. Find your purpose. Live it fully. Let your relationship be lifted by it, not crushed under it. That is how you become the man she cannot help but return to.